So today we are learning how to put together stop motion animation videos in Adobe Premiere. So first thing you need to do is go to your folder that has all of your pictures in it. Mine happens to be over here. So you should on your computer while you're photographing for the stop motion have a folder that you saved all of your pictures in for your animation. This is an example animation that was done by some students, but they let me use the files so that I could show how to put it together in Premiere. So first, make sure that you have your pictures all organized on your computer. And then the second thing you're going to do is create a new folder. So somewhere on your computer, preferably in your documents or pictures. I find that sometimes if you have too much stuff on your desktop, it's too cumbersome. So you can create a new folder. I'm going to create mine in the documents. So you just go to new folder, and this is where we're going to save our Premiere files. So you can name it Premiere Files or Working Files or whatever so that you know what it is. So just create a new folder, and that's it. Just create a new empty folder, and this is where our Premiere files are going to be saved. So once you do that, you're then ready to open Adobe Premiere. So if you go to your Start menu and go to Adobe Premiere Pro, if you installed Adobe Premiere Elements, it's not going to work the same. So you need to download Adobe Premiere Pro in order to do this the same way as I'm about to show you. So you'll have a window that will come up. Yours won't look exactly like this the first time you open it. It'll be a different screen that has like a picture of a guy with his arms out. You should see, I think it's a blue button that says New Project or New or Create New Project. Click that button to create a new project. Mine looks like this, so I'm going to say New Project. So once you do that, then a window is going to come up. Two things we're going to do here. First, we're going to rename it to whatever your video is. Mine, I'll just do sample movie. Do yours whatever the title of your movie is. Once you do that, we are then going to change the location. This is telling Premiere where to save the Premiere files. So click Browse and go ahead and find that document, that folder that you just created. So Premiere Files. So this is the folder that I just created. That's empty. So we're going to select that folder. Just click on it and click Select Folder. So now we're done on this screen. So we renamed it, and then we chose the folder in which all of our Premiere files are going to be saved. Click OK. Yours might take a minute to come up. Sometimes they're slow. Sometimes it doesn't respond for a couple minutes. But if you just leave it alone, it should populate to something that looks like this. So there's 4 different screens on here. This screen right here is your program screen. This is where you're going to be able to watch your video. This screen right here, we're probably not really going to use that much, but this is where some of the more advanced features are. Down here in the left, this is where you're going to see pictures and titles and stuff that you imported into your video. And then over here, this is where we're going to mostly be working, where it says Timeline. So this is where all of your pictures are going to go in sequence so that you can edit them and see the order that they're in and all that stuff. So the first thing that we're going to do is create a title page. So if you do not have, if you included a title in your stop motion, like you spelled it out or wrote it out or something like that, and it already gives the title of your movie and the names of everybody who created it, then you don't have to do this step. But if you do not have that, then you need to create a title page because we need to know the title of your movie and who created it. So go to Title up at the top, go to New Title, Default, Still. You can just click OK. And now this window comes up. This is very similar to Photoshop. Over here on the left, you have a toolbar. there is a selection tool that works like your move tool in Photoshop, and then there's a text tool or a type tool. This is a tool that we're going to start off with. This is going to be on a black background, so you want to do white letters or some kind of letters that you know will show up on a black background, not black letters. So click and drag and it will create a text box. Make sure it's inside this little box that's inside of the screen. That's kind of like your safe area to be sure that it can be seen once you export the video. Then you can start creating your title, whatever your video is going to be called. And make sure you remember to tell us who created it. Alright, so once you have that typed, you can then start editing what it looks like. So you can select all of the text up at the top. If you want it centered, click center. Over here, where it says size, and my cursor is right now, that is how you change the size of your text. So let's say I wanted it to be a little bit bigger. I would then manually change the number and hit enter. That's a little bit too big, so I actually liked the way it was at 100, so I'll keep it that way. But then let's say I want my name smaller, I'll just select my name and change it to maybe 50. That's maybe a little too small. So maybe change it to 75. I think that looks good. Okay. Over here, this is where you change, if you select all of the text right here, this is how you change the typeface. So you can select from here what kind of typeface you want. You can also select from some presets down below. So if you select all of your text and then you go down to some of these presets, you can choose if you want one of these presets instead. So let's say I want something that looks like that, okay? Then I want it centered. I can go back to my selection tool and I can make the box bigger or smaller and I can move it. I want it in the center, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in the center, okay? So go ahead and play around with yours until you get it the way you like it. You can double click in it to edit the text more, size right there, typeface right there, centered over here, okay? So once you get that done and it's created the way you like it, you think it looks good, this sounds kind of weird, but you're just going to close out of this window. Make sure you don't close out of the whole project up here. Make sure you're closing out of just this window right here by hitting that red X. So now you should see your title come up over here in this window. If for some reason you don't see it come up over here, look at these little tabs, and if you're not on where it says project, then that's why. If you're not, click the tab that does say project, like let's say you're over here, click on project. If you don't see it, click the little down arrow and you should be able to see project come up. So click on project and you'll be able to see your title over here. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to drag our title from here over to our timeline. So you're going to click, drag, and let go, and now we have a sequence. So now we have our title, it shows up as in a sequence, and so this right here, this is our playhead. We can drag it or we can just click up in this where these numbers are, and our playhead will go wherever we click. So this is how you play what you have so far in your timeline. So if I move my playhead to the beginning and I hit play up here, you're then going to be able to watch what you have so far in your timeline. So far this title slide is 5 seconds long, which is, I think, a little bit too long. So to change the length of it, you're going to right click in the middle of the title and then you're going to go to speed duration. Click on that and it brings up a window that looks like this. You're going to click where it says duration. Right now it's set at 5 seconds. Just change that to 3 seconds and then you can watch it to make sure if that's a good time or not for your title. Usually that's enough time for somebody to be able to read what the title says. So change that to 3 seconds, then click OK, and you'll notice that it now is shorter. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to be adding our pictures into the program. So the way you do that is you open your window. Now your window may be big like that and it may show over the whole screen. That's okay at first. Go to where you have your pictures saved on your computer so that you have all of your pictures that you can see. But you also need to be able to see your Premiere file as well at the same time because you're going to be dragging them into there. So this little restore down thing that's right next to your X button, click on that. So it just makes the window smaller. And you might need to drag the window in so that you can see both your pictures and your project that you're working on. So you're going to select only about 10 to 15 pictures. If you try to select like 20 or 50 pictures, sometimes it overloads the program and the computers, the school computers, and it'll freeze and kind of freak out. So what you need to do is only select like 10 to 15 pictures at a time. So there's a couple different ways you can select pictures. You can just drag your mouse down to select the pictures, or you can click on the first picture you want to drag, hold Shift on your keyboard, and click on the last one, and it will automatically select all of them in between. So the important thing right now is that you do not drag from the middle of what you have selected. If I click on a picture that's in the middle and try to drag it over into my project, there's a chance that the pictures will enter into my project out of order. Not sure why, but sometimes that happens. So in order to prevent that, what you need to do is click on the very first picture in your sequence, and you're just going to drag it over to where your project is. Two things you need to be careful of while doing this. If you overlap the pictures over your title, like you see like I'm doing right now, if I were to let go of my mouse, it would delete my title. So you need to make sure it's all the way over so that it's not overlapping your title. You also want to make sure it's on the same line as where your title is. You'll notice there's different lines on your program. So like you don't want it up there, it won't go down there. It needs to be on the same line as your title. You could do it on the line above too, but then you'd have to drag it back down and that would just get confusing. So put it on the same line as where your title is and let go. When you let go of your mouse, then the pictures will be in there. Sometimes it freezes when you do this. If it does freeze while you're dragging, just position your cursor where it should go and let go of your mouse and then just leave it alone. Usually it'll take like a minute or two, but it will populate and then you'll end up with what we have here. Okay, so if that happens, just go through the motion, let go, and leave it alone. So now we have our pictures in our project. There is a couple things we need to do before we start adding more pictures to it. If you click up, put your playhead up where your numbers are, you'll notice that some of the pictures are really zoomed in so you can't see the entire picture. That may or may not happen for you. If it does, we need to scale the image to frame size so that it all fits. So in order to do that, we need to select all of our pictures, click out in the dark gray area and drag your cursor so that it creates a box around all of your pictures, and it'll select them all. Once you do that, right-click in the center of any of the pictures, it doesn't matter, and click Scale to Frame Size, and you'll see that it unzooms it so that you can see the entire picture. So while keeping these all selected, now we have to change the speed and duration of each of the photographs because right now it automatically puts them in as 5 seconds long, which is way too long for a stop motion animation. They need to be a fraction of a second. So if you accidentally clicked outside of them and it unselected them, just go ahead and select them all again. Do the same thing as we just did, where you right click in the middle of one of the pictures, and you're going to go to speed duration. So click on that, and it brings up this little window. Two things we need to do here. One is we need to select the ripple edit, shift, trail, and clips. If we do not have that selected, it will put a space in between all of the pictures, and then you have to go through and delete all of the spaces, which is a lot of work. So make sure that is selected, and then go to where it says duration. Instead of making it 5 seconds long, you're going to change that 5 to a 0. Start out with 0.08 right here. And every stop motion is different, so that might be too long for you, or it might be too short for you. So it might end up looking too fast, or it might end up looking too slow. But generally, it's a good place to start because a lot of them look good with this timing. So start off with 0.08 for your duration, and then click OK. You'll notice that the pictures got much smaller because now they're much shorter. In a second, we'll play through it. If you find that while it's playing, it looks too slow, then you need to speed up the pictures. So you would change it instead of 8 to a lower number. If you find that it's going a little bit too fast, then you need to slow it down. You'll go to a higher number, okay? So this right here, in order to zoom in so that we can see it better, we're going to adjust on the scroll bar. So this right here is a scroll bar. If you click in the light gray area, it scrolls just like any scroll bar usually does. But it also has this little darker gray square right here. If we click on that square and drag it in, what it does is it kind of zooms in. It made the pictures go out of reach so we can't see them, but I'll just scroll over so we can see them. So see how they're getting bigger? So now it's not actually making them longer, it's just kind of zooming in so that we can see them better. So what you can do is you can put your playhead at the beginning of where your pictures are and click play. So I think this looks good. If yours looks too fast, then adjust the timing. If it looks too slow, then adjust the timing. I'm going to leave it that way. And then the last thing right now that we're going to do is delete all this space. So you'll notice there's all this empty space in between the title slide and where the first picture is. So if we were to play through this whole thing, it goes from title to black for a whole lot of time before it would actually get to the pictures. So in order to remove that, there's a very simple way to do it. You could just drag them all over, but a much easier way is to just click in the empty space. It selects it, then hit backspace on your computer. So if you click in the empty space and hit backspace, it will delete the empty space and move the picture so it's right next to the title. So now if we click our playhead at the beginning and we click play, we'll be able to scroll through and watch what we have so far for our movie. And that's it. So now as you continue, what you'll do is you'll go back into your folder where you have your pictures, start with the next picture, and select the next 10 to 15. And then you can go ahead and make sure you drag from the first picture. And again with this, you want to make sure you don't overlap like this, because if the pictures are overlapping, it's going to delete those overlapping pictures, and you don't want to do that because then you'll be missing a chunk of pictures in your video. So you would rather have a whole lot of space in between than overlapping, okay? So drag it all the way over, so now your pictures are over here, and then you can go through the same thing as we just did as far as selecting all of these pictures and then scale to frame size, and then change the speed duration to the same speed as you just did. Make sure the ripple edit is selected, 0.08, click OK. And now again there's a whole lot of space in between the pictures. just click in the empty space, hit backspace, and now there we go. You'll just continue to add your pictures that same exact way until you have all of your pictures that you need for your stop motion into the program. And that's all we're learning how to do right now. Just make sure you save what you're doing. Very, very important. You already selected where this is going to save to, so all you have to do is hit File, Save. You don't have to hit Save As because you already told the program where to save the files. So just go File, Save, and that's it for now. Later on, I'll show you how to add music, and I will also show you how to export the video as well. But for today, this is all we learned how to do. So set up the file, add a title, and add all of your pictures to the Premiere file.